at first for Kingdom Hearts, just kind of doing my own thing and just seeing, not really knowing strats and stuff, but just like, if I were trying to go fast, like what does that feel like? What would this, I took breaks during it and stuff. But then when I did my first run, I already had done all the streaming stuff set up and everything. I had streamed a couple things before related to League of Legends, nothing major, just like small community stuff. And then for doing my first speedruns, like I'd been talking to people in the community for a few months. So luckily, like I already kind of had a few people who wanted to watch when I did my first run. So my first run is right on the channel.
So like, how did you do that? Because I know a lot of people worry about, what game am I going to start? No one's going to care if I stream. And you kind of avoided that by getting into the community before you started streaming. So how exactly did you go about doing that?
So for me, it was asking questions. That was kind of the big thing. Was I would just hang out and watch a bunch of people speedrunning Kingdom Hearts 1 primarily, but also Kingdom Hearts 2, because that was just one of my favorite series as a kid. That was what I remembered. And so I would watch like Biscuit047 and the Mistmaster 1 and just constantly ask them questions about the run, because the super interesting thing to me was the routing aspect and kind of how different strategies were developed and stuff like that. So I would ask them all these like intricate questions, like how long are you pressing the button when you're doing like a jump here or something, small stuff like that, even though I didn't run the game yet. And asking like that all the time led to some people like thinking I was a runner, and just made friends that way.
The Kingdom Hearts kind of community, what I've heard is a pretty good group, right?
Yeah, very large too. There's so many people now. It's a lot bigger than when I joined, which was already a lot bigger than, kind of when it started. So it's ridiculous how many people have speedrun those games now.
Yeah, so then you start your streaming kind of life. And when did it kind of become a serious thing that you do, very often like you do now?
I'd say when it first started out, I kind of tried to do like a few runs at a time. Like I would do like 3 runs a day when I first started out, because I was working part-time from home. So I kind of had a flexible schedule. And then that very quickly was like not a good idea. Very quickly, that was a bad idea. So I kind of just took it slow for a while. I'd say probably within the last year is when I really ramped up and started streaming as many days as I could out of the week, and almost treating it like a job to a degree, but not too much.
Channel is JHobz296, but you can find it with a Z in there too. JHobzZ296. So then, was this your first time submitting a game to GDQ, or did you have done it in the past that got rejected?
I'd submitted once or twice in the past. I'd submitted Kingdom Hearts in the past, and Journey to the Center of Hawkthorne, which is a little fan game for the TV show community, as well as Final Fantasy Tactics Advance. So none of that has even still been accepted yet. What I got in for was Crash Bandicoot, and this is my first time getting accepted. Probably 2 or 3 other times I submitted.
Yeah, I think your main game is Kingdom Hearts. So, but what made you choose to go to Crash Bandicoot? Was this a strategic move to get in GDQ, or was it just a game you wanted to try out?
No, I think just when I started speedrunning, I didn't have any kind of big plans in terms of I'm going to speedrun all these games and everything. But when you sit on one game for so long, eventually you get a little burnt out on it, or you get a little sick of it, or maybe you just see something else that looks interesting and you decide you want to do that. So I never went into it with this big pressure of I always needed to be streaming the same game, or I always needed to be improving my time. So I just streamed other games when I wanted to stream them. And then eventually when the new Crash Bandicoot came out, there was a race being set up with a couple different people, just a blind race of the game. And I wasn't even going to get the game, really. I wasn't sure. Even though I'd played Crash 2 and 3 as a kid, I was just I don't know. And then when some friends talked about doing a blind race, I said, "Oh yeah, I'm buying that. I'm joining that for sure." And right from that moment, I was like, "Okay, this is super fun. I'm definitely going to keep doing this."
Yeah, so that was my next question. So what kind of made it go from this game is cool, hey, it's a cool race game, to okay, I really want to put in the time and grind this thing out?
I think at the time there wasn't really any other game that I was super strongly into running. I was still a little burnt out on Kingdom Hearts from the previous RPG Limit Break. I just wasn't too excited about anything I had run in the past. And then that comes out, and I'm really excited about Crash, but also I found out about some movement tech in it from another one of the runners. They told me about these things called mock tornadoes in Crash 3. And once I learned how to do that, I just fell in love with the game all over again and said, okay, I'm running this until I get a time I'm happy with, which still hasn't happened yet. So
yeah, I've heard that before. So then you submit the game, you get accepted, and then you see the time slot. So yeah, you said it was pretty exciting. So why do you think they chose you to be the first game? I guess it's a good question. So why do you think you think it's a good game to start a marathon with?
Yeah, I think it is. I think, I mean, I can't officially, say anything for how GDQ selects their games or their schedule, but I want to say that I think they just tend to like runs of around that length, around an hour, a little bit more maybe. And it's a new game, which I think helps it out. And on top of that, I had done commentary in the past that had always been pretty well received at several different GDQs. So I think they put some faith in me, I guess. And on top of that, I'm part of the pre-show, so the fact that they get the chance to make a big joke out of it is probably a plus for them.
Oh yeah, so was that set up before you got chosen to be the first game, or was it kind of a thing that happened after? Because I assumed it was, okay, you're doing the first game, let's get him at the table. But am I wrong there?
Oh no, yeah, I joined the interview team last SGDQ, so SGDQ 2017. I joined the interview team. And that also includes the pre-show. But at the time, I wasn't really going to be on the pre-show. And then some things like changed around and, we decided I was going to be on the pre-show this year. So they definitely knew going into the selection that I was going to be part of the pre-show. I highly doubt it actually had anything to do with it, but you never know.
All right. So for someone that also interviews people that would love a spot at a GDQ interview, how does one go about getting your spot as in interviewing at GDQs?
I think the biggest thing is kind of putting on a good show, really. Like, one of the ways that we decide interviews is, if they've done any GDQ runs in the past and have put on a really good show and we thought they were entertaining and would be the right kind of person for an interview. On top of that, we try to research people's streams and, we look a little bit at time slots, but mainly also, what game it is. Is there any kind of story behind this race coming up or the run coming up or anything like that? So a bunch of different factors, but the biggest thing is just if you're an entertaining person on stream or entertaining at GDQs, there's a decent chance that we're going to want to get you up on the interview table.
Oh, cool. So it's kind of a combination of timing and you make sure they kind of are an interesting person that can speak well on an interview to choose, right?
Yeah, definitely. Got to do your research because not everybody is. Sometimes we reach out to interview candidates and they say they don't want an interview too. So like not everybody always wants to do it and it takes a lot of research to make sure we pick the right ones.
How did you come to not work at a GDQ, but do these interviews? How did you get that spot? That's obviously a spot a lot of people want.
Yeah, I think again, it was just kind of really showing that I had the skills to do that kind of thing, right? Just putting on good commentary performances at previous GDQs and then a little bit of networking. Like I definitely credit my good friend Spike Vegeta as being one of the main reasons I got the opportunity. And really just Darkman, who runs the interview team, Darkman78, he approached me at AGDQ 2017, AGDQ 2017, and just asked if I would be interested if they ended up having an open slot in the future. And
awesome.
I, of course, said yes. And I think it's really just comes down to kind of your speedrunning resume, right? In terms of what you can show at GDQs and just good performances in online marathons and anything that really people take notice of.
Yeah, so you showed you had the skills, and they eventually found you. I guess that works in a lot of parts in life for sure. I guess there's a question. Like some people in the past on these shows have talked about how GDQ likes to staff itself with speedrunners, purely speedrunners, right? Just like in your case, they need an interviewer. You're a speedrunner. They know you got the skills, but they asked you. Do you think it would behoove GDQ in the future to maybe get people outside of speedrunning to maybe host or to be those interviewers that maybe a bigger name or something? I can't think of a name right now, but let's say someone that's not a speedrunner, but they're in the gaming world to kind of handle the interviews. Would that make a better show and maybe provide a little bit of chance for growth?
I don't think there's anything wrong with that by any means, but I think the only way that they would kind of want to do that is if they ran out of talent in the speedrunning world, which I don't think they're anywhere near doing. Mm-hmm. That's not going to happen anytime soon because speedrunning just spans such a wide demographic of people that I think you're for a long time, you're going to be able to find people who have the skills to rise up to the challenge of those kinds of, host interview. And even, when it comes to staff positions, like doing, tech shifts and stuff like that. I think that there's nothing wrong with them going outside for that kind of thing. I just think that they don't plan to, and